I'm going to show you how to make a cutting guide that'll be useful anytime you need to break down large wood like this. Now, you have the option of if you have something like I do, but I'm going to show you how to make something really simple that works exceptionally well. So it'll only take a minute. I'm going to show you what we're going to do. Okay, so if you have some scrap 1/2-inch plywood or 3/8 inch plywood, just spruce would work or whatever you have in your area, you're really after the factory edge. We really need this to be our fence side, okay? The rest of the material doesn't matter so much. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take, and this was pre-cut, so it's not going to be exactly straight. And let me get it right in the middle here so we can see what we got going on down the center. And this is really what we're heading for, is this. Now you may ask, why is it this wide? Well, the real goal is, when we run our saw through, what we need to do is we need to be able to, depending on your saw, you'll have a different piece sticking out. But we need to be able to clamp like that, to hold it in position when we go to cut. So I think you already see where we're going with this. If you have a big skill saw, then you need more room here. We're just trying to clear here. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel or trim this down because it doesn't really matter. But you want to have 8 feet for sure, and then go from there. I recommend making 2 because you're going to cut the other one into 2 pieces. That's if you have it. So a cheap piece of plywood will be something you can use for a long time and very effective. Here's what we're going to do now. Just make sure you get the factory edge so you know where it is. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take, I use carpenter's glue. This is tight bond, it's excellent. The glue does all the work here. We're just going to hold until we need to go. There is also a factory edge there, but let's use a small piece. We can use the other piece somewhere else. We need this to be on the inside. I'm going to go over to here just so I can clamp it down, because what I need to do now, if this is a little off, don't worry about it, because this will be a cut. So even if you break the sheet down and you just use a chalk line and just, if you're a little off, don't worry. Just remember. I'm just using this new material as a backboard. And you can feel I'm out probably a little less than a 1/16. Generally speaking, the factory edge is always pretty straight. There may be some little rough pieces on it, you know, where like here there's just a hair. We can easily fix that with a piece of sandpaper after we put it together. You'll find there's just maybe a little bump because it's been exposed, but I'll show you how to quickly fix that. Okay, I'm going to use 3/4 inch brads here to hold it, but you could actually use screws as well, and that would be good. But the glue does the main work, so you just kind of got to hold it until the glue goes. So okay, a little block of wood, little sandpaper, I don't know, this is 100 grit. whatever, it doesn't really matter too much. Just need a strong surface. Like I was saying, just run it along here. Just watch for slivers coming out the first go, like that. We're just trying to get any of the just loose stuff off. I give it a little scour right here on the 45. There you go. That's where that little bump was. Straight as an arrow. Put the two bows apart. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to this side, and the real thing I'm trying to do now is just clamp it so that I can trim it. And we're done. I just don't want to cut my pretty new piece of plywood here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to lift the guide up and just drop it down. We don't want to go too much below, not more than a 1/4 inch sticking out. That's pretty good there. Just clarify where we're going to come in through here. And we got a couple inches to spare. All right. Now we're going to cut this to size. And then this dimension, once we cut it, will be the inside of the blade. And this gives us a nice cutting surface. Just got to make sure that when you feed in, you just keep tension on it. You don't have to force it too much. You just want to have enough to make sure that it's flat and just doesn't float off. If it does, you can go back and just skim it. It'll come loose. Take good care of this because over the years, you can use this over and over and over again. And all you need is now is a couple clamps and mark it. When I mentioned you should make 2 of them, well, you're going to buy a 4x8 sheet of 1/2 inch spruce. They're not very expensive. You could use other materials like OSB or so on, but OSB is going to deteriorate over time. You could use other sorts of material, composite materials, but this works good. You can handle the rain. You could countersink a couple 3/4 inch screws in here just to help hold it if you're really worried about it. You know, maybe 8 going down the whole thing. The real beauty is, though, make 2 and cut 1 at 5 feet. That gives you a 3-foot piece for something small and a 5-foot piece for going cross cuts. This is where a guide like this really comes in handy. You can see the mark I made here. There's one on the other side. And basically all we do is we run it up so that it's flush. Again, here's the other mark. There we go. Clamp it up. We're ready to cut. Don't lift it up too much. Those cutting boards are a really good way to cut up sheet goods like this. I think everybody should have one of those boards, and especially when you're making things that involve large pieces of wood, it's very useful to have. You don't need a big saw to make great cuts.